Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Samp&Chance. I am your host, Bobby Sampson, and joined, as always, my man with the master plan, Mr. Chance Michaels. How are you this evening, Mr. Michaels?
Hey yo,
Hey,
you know,
yo. Hey,
doing a
yo.
tribute to one of the greatest of all time,
Yeah,
Scott Hall. So
yeah.
it sucks that we have to do it, but we're gonna talk about all the good times and the impact he had, and it's gonna be a good show.
Yeah, no, for sure. We come at you all today with a very heavy heart, and we'd be remiss if I don't say thank you for leading us into your years. As of this recording, Scott Hall passed away yesterday, March 14th, at about between, I can only guess, 4 and 6 in the evening. He was taken off of life support earlier yesterday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific. That was once his whole family and loved ones were with him. Even in that state, man, that dude fought hard, man.
He did.
Trying to kind of survive on his own. Eventually, he kind of caught up to him. He had a pacemaker installed, uh, and he also had a defibrillator in his heart as well. So these heart issues have been going on for the better part of 12, 15 years, my understanding is. So
Yeah,
unfortunately, it just kind of caught up to him. He had just gone in. He had taken a fall and broke his hip, I guess, I
that's
believe,
correct.
and
Yeah.
went in to get some work done on it. And he suffered numerous heart attacks on the operating table, which kind of forced him to put him on the life support. And everything ended up the way it did. So, a huge loss to the wrestling community, a huge loss to his family. My condolences to the entire wrestling community. It's not just a family loss. This is kind of a whole wrestling family loss as well. So there's a lot of heavy hearts out there at all levels of this game, of this profession, that are feeling what we're feeling here tonight. So yeah, so we thought we'd just kind of give you guys a little bit of what we thought of Scott Hall and what we, you know, enjoyed about him and the impact that he had on us as wrestling fans. And yeah, he was a character. He was a character.
Larger than life character. Cool, tall, built, swagger. He is a good. He's nobody talks about his wrestling, but he was good in the ring too. He wasn't just a character; like he had some good in-ring skills. The Razor's Edge, one of the coolest finishers ever. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. To look at that, to look at that maneuver, you really have to trust a guy like Scott Hall to pull it off. You're dealing with perhaps the most delicate part of the body there with the neck in
Mhm.
terms of wrestling, in my opinion. The neck is just that one. Look for Big E. Look what happened to him.
Well,
You
I'll
know what
give
I
you a
mean?
quick story for you. When I was 10 years old, Scott Hall came to WWE, and I was at my cousin's house, and she had a stepbrother. He's maybe a couple years older than me, and he had bunk beds, and I was on the top bunk bed, and I did the Razor's Edge, and it crashed the bunk beds, you know. So it was just such a cool move, and it's hard to do, and
No, it has to be done safely, right?
dangerous. Snap
It,
snap a kid's neck if you don't do it right.
well, if you think about it, how many wrestlers have used as a finisher? I think I'm thinking there's one other guy that I've seen recently use it. I think it's in AEW too. Is it Wardlow who uses it, or was it Brian Cage?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, on
I
that
have a
one.
feeling it's one of those guys. Listeners, if let us know in the comments. I'm just kind
I
of
got a
going off the
question.
top of my head. Yeah,
I got a question for you. Was he the first one to do that Razor's Edge? I know we called it that, but was people doing that before him? Because I don't remember. I don't know if anybody did it prior to him doing it like that.
off the top of my head, I don't know. He could have created it, but it could have also come from Japan.
Well, he
You
definitely
know,
took it national. That's for sure. He made it
yeah,
famous.
he could have gotten it from Japan. He could have gotten it from AEW. I'm not sure where he got it from, to be honest, man.
Yeah,
But he
I
made it
always
his
wondered
own. He made it his own. Scott Hall. Scott Hall was born Scott Oliver Hall, born in October 20th, 1958, in St. Mary's County in Maryland, which is about 70 miles outside of Washington, D.C. Um, Grew up as an army brat, just kind of moving from base to base with his family. He did that for most of his adolescence and teenage years, my understanding is, and went to school in Germany. I didn't know that. I didn't know that
I
about
didn't
him at
either.
all, to be honest, until I started doing that research. Kind of weird what the passing of someone. the things you learn, you never kind of pay attention to them when they're around.
Absolutely.
Um, Started wrestling for the NWA in 1984. Now, NWA was still a territory kind of company based territory. So they had NWAs all over the place in every territory, sort of a deal. So he started out in the Carolinas there with the with the NWA. He was there for about a year, getting his feet wet, learning his skill, learning his timing and whatnot.
With
And from
that
there,
killer mustache he had.
yeah, no, absolutely. From there, he went to the AWA, where he was there from 1985 to 89. He kind of came in just as Hogan had left. I guess Hogan had been gone about a year by this time and kind of blown up the WWF. So Vern Gagne kind of saw this guy, 6'8", the shape, the build, everything about him. He envisioned him being the next Hulk Hogan for the AWA, and
And
kind
who
of
would have
tried to,
guessed 10, 15 years later they'd make one of the coolest crews of all time together.
yeah, definitely, man. We'll get to that as we walk down memory lane here.
Mhm.
Um, sorry, Vern Gagne wanted him to be the next Hulk Hogan. He was hoping for that. He was priming him for that, tuning him up for that. He ended up having a great tag team run with Kurt Hennig,
I love
who
it.
he says that helped define his skill set, helped him with his character and what have you. Do you have anything? Do you have any stories for that? Yeah, you're a big Hennig guy.
Yeah, I love him. He's one of my top five. Yeah, I was just reading the other day that Kurt Hennig told Scott Hall, slow down when you walk to the ring. Slow down, take it all in. When you get in the ring, then explode. And that's kind of why you see him walk slowly, that little razor dance that he would do, right? Kurt taught him that. And
No, wow,
pretty cool. Yeah.
that's pretty crazy.
Mhm.
I did not know that. That's pretty cool. But yeah, they won the tag team titles there.
What
By
a tag
beating,
team. It's too bad they didn't
yeah,
take it further. Wow, what
yeah.
talent.
No, no, it was a pretty good tag team. They won the tag team titles January 18th, 1986 by beating Jimmy Garvin and Steven Regal, not the man's man, Steven Regal, the North American version of Steven Regal. Um, and then, yeah, from there, he left in 1989 because he felt that AWA was a sinking ship. And you know what? In many ways, he was right. The company didn't last too long after that. From
Mhm.
there, he went to WCW for his first run. It wasn't really a run per se, as a program that JR, good old JR, was kind of initiating by bringing up and coming talent to kind of hone them and trying to, build them up a little bit. Some of the guys of that group included Brian Pillman and Sid Vicious, actually. During his time there, though, he didn't really accomplish much except
No,
just being an enhancement talent, losing to the likes of Ron Simmons, losing to Butch Reed, the Great Muta, Vader, and Sid Vicious, to name just most of them, I guess, or name a few. From there, he took off. He tried out for the WWE. It didn't work out. He ended up in Japan for a while. From Japan, he came back, worked a couple of indie promotions, and from there, he ended up in WCW for a second run as the Diamond Stud. The mustache was gone, the hair was slicked back, and he kind of took a character kind of like what Rick Rude was doing at the time of the WWE, just, calling out the ladies after the match and whatnot. DDP was his manager. That was an interesting.
pairing.
Well, I mean, it's a foreshadowing to everything that was going to happen. I mean, I've always said DDP is the catalyst ultimately for all of it. I mean, granted, Scott Hall and Nash and Hogan did what they did with Bischoff and what have you, that whole thing, but I don't think any of it would have been possible if it wasn't the influence of DDP to bring them over there.
Yep. Yep.
You know?
No, I agree
That
with you.
that dude has his hands on the business in so many ways. DDP is an
He's just a
interesting
good,
cat.
just a nice guy, a good guy, a good dude. And you never hear one person say one bad word about that guy.
I've never heard anything bad. Even his ex-wife has nothing but good things to say about him. Kimberly,
Yeah.
like at
That's
the
what
end of the day, he's just a genuine good guy, and a lot of thanks and credit goes to him as we'll progress here. Um, After that run in WCW, he ended up in the WWF, then later known as the WWE. He was brought in initially to be a GI Joe character, which he wasn't really keen on doing, so the story goes. So he he gave the idea to Vince and Pat at the pool back in the good old days and suggested a character like Razor Ramon based on, Al Pacino's Scarface. Um, Vince and Pat Patterson had never seen this before. They'd never seen Scarface. So they thought this guy was a genius.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting, it's kind of cool the whole genesis of that character. Razor Ramon, man, he was cool. He was cool, man. He was the gold dripping, say hello to the bad guy, toothpick throwing. Incidentally, that toothpick has been with him since the beginning of his career. It's not
Mhm.
something he started in WWE, WWF. It's something he started way back when. I think it goes. The earliest that I saw it was in footage from AWA.
I mean, Razor had it all, dude. He had the hair, he had the look, he had that hairy chest, had the gold, had um, the swagger, the talk. But the one thing that not a lot of people talk about, he was great in the ring. The Razor's Edge is one of the coolest finishing moves ever, and he's so many classic matches, but you don't really hear about it that much. You always just hear about NWO and his swagger, but he was good in the ring too.
No, he was a great wrestler. He had his
Mm-hmm.
skill set. He was really crisp. He was really clean.
Really crisp.
He was safe. He was safe, especially with a move like the Razor's Edge. You have to be safe. You're dealing with the neck. I mean, one bad fumble, it can really be detrimental. But yeah, no, I think his in-ring ability is foreshadowed by the charisma and his ability to make you listen to everything he wants to say.
Yeah.
Um, Scott Hall worked really, really hard in promoting and selling what he was trying to get across. May it be, be on the receiving end of an attack or his in-ring promo or his mic work. You always were left like, yeah, you were waiting for him. I mean,
Yeah.
how many times were you sitting there when he came in the ring and he had the mic and you were just waiting for him to say, "Hey, yo,"
Yeah. And the
you
crowd will
know,
pop every
and
time.
the crowd will pop every time. They would sit there quiet, waiting for it. It's just because he had that ability. So, just in thinking about it right now, just as a fresh thought, I really have to say that that's probably one of the reasons why his in-ring work outside of WrestleMania 10 and other matches here and there um, don't stand out as much per se, based on the fact of his ability to draw you in with the look, with the ring entrance. It's just that slow strut at the time, just the
Mhm.
way he presented
Yeah, Kurt
himself.
Angle,
And
Kurt Hennig taught him to do.
right, absolutely, all those things kind of made him bigger than what he needed to be in the ring.
Yeah,
He could have been a shit worker, but he had the other 85% down packed,
yeah.
the other
No, I
75% down packed.
absolutely. The guy, he had it all, right? Everything you go on the wrestler, that he had it all: the height, the look, the build.
Yeah,
He's just a great, great,
you
great
know,
character. One of the best characters ever, I think.
yeah, no, 100%. And then his formation with Scott, Kevin Nash, Triple H, Waltman, X-Pac and Shawn Michaels, the Click. Those guys getting together, just their brains, just thinking the business, building it. Granted, they had their problems with other groups and other guys in the business as well, but
Hmm.
it came a point where they kind of, I think the first big thing all those guys did was destroy kayfabe.
Yep, they did.
That
They
was the
changed
first
forever.
strike. That was the first strike of everything.
The curtain call.
The curtain call, man, at Madison Square Garden. Those who are unfamiliar, the curtain call we refer to is basically Scott and Kevin Nash's contracts were up and they were both heading over to WCW, which basically left Shawn and Triple H left in WWE. So these guys had a tag match in a steel cage tag match at MSG. This was their final kind of match before two left. And at the end of the match, in front of the crowd and everything, they did the too sweet, the Wolfpack symbol, and kind of all embraced. And that, I don't know if that's the first time or not, but that was probably the official death of kayfabe. where they kind of broke all the rules. Triple
They
H,
peel. They call it the curtain call, but they peel the curtain back, and now we know everything that goes on backstage, right?
that's it, man. And it's kind of funny. The guy who got punished the most was Triple H,
Yeah.
and the other two left. Sean was untouchable, so H kind of got most of the blame and the punishment for it, which led us to Stone Cold, Steve Austin, Austin 316. So I mean, all of these things, if you think about it, everything that Scott Hall was involved in from that point onwards created everything else. Not to say it wouldn't be creative, but I mean, if you just look at how all the dominoes fell,
Oh yeah.
and there's no guessing about it. We talked about I remember we talked about China, and what she could have been, or what could have been, or where she could have been. The same we said about Owen. He passed away untimely. Could he have been world champion? Would he have had the strap at one point? How long would he have lasted? Would he showed up in WCW at some point? We don't know any of these things, right? We don't
Yeah.
know what trajectory any of these guys' careers were going to take, but everything we're talking about here is all factual. It's all, you look at that particular move led to this, this, and this. Scott Hall then showing up in WCW that spring, just kind of opening the door to everything else that happened. I mean, right up to Hogan being the third man. And Hogan last night was saying that Hall resurrected his career, basically, giving Hogan a second chance at it all. Um, the inception of the
And
NWO.
Scott Hall was smart enough, and Kevin Nash was smart enough to know you get a guy like Hulk Hogan here, the most famous wrestler ever. He becomes a bad guy. This is lots of money. Print the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
They're not stupid
absolutely.
guys. You know.
No, no, 100%. Unfortunately, you know what? Too many egos, too many names, too many brands, and not enough bosses. That, it could have been something much, much more. But I mean, it was awesome for what it was. Don't get me wrong.
Well, it was great when it was the three of them. Then they got let everybody in, and it became watered down. But when it was going, it was the hottest thing going. You
No,
know, kids in
100%.
high school NWO shirts. All people would talk about was the NWO. It was super
Well,
cool. That's the time when it was cool to be a wrestling fan. You know.
no, I would say that probably the second time that wrestling had kind of imprinted itself on pop culture. I
Hmm.
mean, the 1980s, you could say it was the rock and wrestling time, Cyndi Lauper, MTV, all that, that was that time they had the pop culture. Fast forward 10 years, it happened again with the NWO and all
It
the
was
good things
cool.
that were coming out.
Like
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to say a street edge, but you know what I mean. It was edgy. DX, NWO, that kind of that edge. Like it's cool to wear the wrestling shirts. You know what I mean?
well, I
So
mean, it forced Vince to think again. It forced Vince to create. And, from that, we got Stone Cold, we got The Rock, we got
heel McMahon,
heel McMahon, like Mr. McMahon, that whole thing that
DX.
happened. DX was kind of, yeah, DX as well, it changed the game forever. It changed the way people consumed wrestling. It changed the way people watch wrestling, and it kind of took a hit once the war was over, and only Vince was standing. It, it,
Here's a
it
here's a question for you. Which faction do you think was cooler, DX or NWO?
um See, this is the thing. I would have to say DX, in my opinion, only for the fact that they had longevity and they didn't oversaturate group, as you had alluded to earlier. NWO was awesome right up until, maybe if they were gonna add people, I think they should have stopped after they added the Giant and Sean Waltman. I mean, that should have been it.
Well, let's not forget NWO. There's LWO. There was BWO. Like it
Well,
became too much.
yeah, I mean, you had that Latin World Order, you had the Blue World Order, like you said.
You had black and white NWO. You had red and black. I mean, it
Yeah,
was
the Wolf Pack. I mean, it just got oversaturated, right? I mean, everybody wanted a piece of that pie. It's kind of like they should have been no more than maybe six deep, and those six guys, should have been it. You have the three there. The other three I would have probably kept in there would have been the Giant, obviously. That would have been your fourth. Um,
X
I don't
Pac.
know. X-Pac, sorry. Yeah, that would have been your fifth. Even at five, I think I'd be happy at five. You just
A
have
lot of
those
people
five
don't know,
guys.
but Giant and Hogan, they're close, man. Like Nash and X Pac, Giant and Hogan are that close.
Oh
That's one of
no,
the reasons why I
absolutely,
came in.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean he kind of started his career with Hogan, right?
Mhm.
So it's Andre's son. Remember when he was with the Dungeon of Doom?
It's
This is
believable.
Andre's son. And he was wearing, anyways, with the monster truck, classic, good old 1994.
And
Um,
they even had their own pay per view. Was it
yeah,
called
sold
Uncensored
out,
in '87
sold,
or sold out?
yeah, sold out. But like I said, everything was great until they got oversaturated.
Hmm.
And I remember there was this one time they had a storyline kind of pretending, or I guess it's not pretending. I don't know how you would call it, man, but they were using Spartol's alcoholism and whatnot as a storyline.
Yeah, they're trying to do real life situations there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, that kind of fizzled out, but pretty much after that, I mean, he had a short run in TNA. He came back to WWE for a little bit, but then pretty much after 2010 or not, I think he had that one spot at WrestleMania in San Francisco there. Was that 32?
Oh yeah, when Sting versus Triple H.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
So
was
I mean,
cool.
where he took the backflip or whatever it was,
That
right?
was
Yeah.
cool.
So I mean, I think that is probably, the extent. I mean, he may have had a little spot here and there, which I don't know about, but that pretty much sums up his career. But then, he did deal with a lot of issues. I mean, he's been dealing with alcoholism and drug abuse and whatnot. And it came to a head where he really, really got wasted and he had come to a show. He was there and he
Indie
could
show there.
barely
Yeah. God.
he could barely get into the ring. And that's probably the hardest footage that's out there to see of him. Like, why would you let him do that? Why would you even allow him to come out like that? I get it. You paid the man, whatnot, but I think there
Reschedule. Yeah.
reschedule, man. You have to have some compassion. That's the one sad part of our business here, the wrestling business in general. Sometimes,
I'm not trying to knock indie wrestling. We love it. We're a part of it. We do lots with it. At the end of the day, a guy who's done that in the business shouldn't have to show up on indie show to make a couple $100 PO. You know what I mean? He was on hard times financially also, which is sad. You know what I mean?
yeah, I don't
I'm
know
part of the
what his
story that,
financial status was
well,
at
I
the
mean,
time, but
WWE had to pay for his rehab. They had to pay for lots of stuff. DDP had it. He had to donate for his hip and stuff. I hate to say that, but it just goes to what the abuse can do. He
no,
shouldn't be doing that.
100%.
All the money that he's made and what he's done in the business, you don't want to see a guy like that on an indie show. I'm not trying to knock indie wrestling at all, but those kind of guys don't come to indie wrestling shows. You know what I mean?
Well, you'd be surprised, man. I guess at one point,
You're
one could
not
have
going to
said
see
that.
Shawn Michaels. You're not going to Shawn Michaels or Hulk Hogan come on an indie show. This is not going to happen.
I
They
guess
got
not.
money.
No, I appreciate that. I can understand that completely. But you know what? That sometimes guys do what they got to do, right? I mean, that's the beauty of the
Mhm.
business. There's always a door that will be
No,
open
I'm not
for
knocking him for
someone.
doing it, but
No, 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 no. I'm not saying you're knocking it. I'm just basically adding my piece to it, to what you're saying. It
he
is,
shouldn't. For a guy who's created the NWO, he shouldn't have to go to a bingo hall for $200 or $500, drunk standing. Like it should never happen.
no,
Sad.
it shouldn't happen. But I mean, he did it to himself. Let's just
No,
be
I
fair
know, I
about
know.
that. Right. But I mean, like I said, push comes to shove. I don't think, anyone thought Honky Tonk Man, the greatest intercontinental champion of all time, would be doing indie shows or at that time. I'm just
But he
saying.
never, yeah, but he never impacted the business like Scott Hall,
No,
though,
no, no,
right?
no, no, no. I get that. But what I'm saying is, you know what? You can have a lot of impact. You can do a lot of great things. At the end of the day, if you don't manage yourself properly,
Yeah.
wrestlers are independent contractors, regardless of what company they work for. You
Hmm.
know, um, it's all about how these guys saved and what they did, what steps they took. Some of them drank it away, some of them saved it, some of them are okay, some of them are doing very well for themselves. The guys that
Hmm.
you don't hear about are the ones that are doing good.
Hmm. Yeah. No,
So,
that's too
so
bad. Man.
it's
Such
too,
talent, such charisma,
no,
right?
100%, right? Um, we'd be remiss if we didn't touch on DDP a bit more here. After that incident, DDP kind of caught wind of it, and when Scott Hall was actually in hospital, um, for I think his heart condition or seizures or something like that. One of the um, one of the nurses, I think it was a male nurse or a male attendant or something, huge wrestling mark, eh? So he tried every opportunity to kind of get in the room with Scott Hall at that time just to talk wrestling. And
Hmm.
he showed him the video of what he had been doing with Jake Roberts at that point and how far he had come with him. And Scott was like, oh, wow, this is, this might be something. So he actually ended up going back to DDP, who took him into the accountability house. I don't know if that still exists or not, but at the time, that's what they had called it. And he ended up spending 7 months with him at the house, um, getting all sober and everything. So to a lot of people at that point in 2012, 2013, a lot of people thought that, we were pretty much going to see the end of Scott Hall at that point.
Yeah.
DDP gave us an additional 8 years with him, helping him and guiding him to get sober. And
And he lost a lot of weight too doing the yoga.
no,
A
he
lot.
did. He looked great. It's just unfortunate that, of all the things that you think would have taken this man,
That's what I said. Yeah. Crazy.
yeah, absolutely. It's just kind of mind blowing. But a big shout out to DDP. I hope one day that we can get him on here just to say thank you. He's an amazing character. He's just helped so many wrestlers. I mean, look at Jake. I mean, we by all accounts we shouldn't have had Jake here still. And now he's got his own podcast himself called the Snake Pit. So it's kind
I
of
think
an
it's yeah, I think it's called DDP Pit or something with
or
DDP's.
DDP Pit, yeah, but he's kind of the host of it or whatever the case may be. But really interesting, just right across the board. The
You'll
effect that
never
this
hear one
man.
guy say a bad word about DDP. You're not going to hear it. I never heard it.
No, I'm still waiting for someone to say something bad about DDP as well. So I even Scotty Mac gave us a great antidote about him being here in Vancouver,
I was
and
actually in the crowd when that happened. It was cool when he came out.
yeah, no, that was phenomenal, man. Unfortunately, I missed that, but you know what? There'll be more to come. But
Mhm.
Scott Hall, man, definite miss, and Wrestling Heaven has gained another superstar. When I die, I want to go to Wrestling Heaven. I've decided that's where I want to go, man. I always pictured Wrestling Heaven to be like this. It's kind of like, okay, so Hawk already passed away, right? Right.
Yeah.
So I'm using the Road Warriors as an example. This is the way I personally think that Wrestling Heaven works. So you got basically at Hawk getting beaten down 2 against 1 against whoever's up there, right? Let's say it's I don't know who's he getting beaten up there. Yokozuna and Macho Man are two-timing him or two against 1 on him, right? And all of a sudden, because Animal just died down here, the music hits and he comes running out, and the crowd at Wrestling Heaven is going mad. And can you imagine how awesome that would be?
That'd be cool, dude.
Wrestling Heaven. You got Andre up there, you got them all up there, and every show would be parallel with what
They're
shows are
perfect.
here.
Ultimate
So
Warrior. It goes on
yeah,
and on.
100%. So we lost someone, but Wrestling Heaven gained someone.
Yeah.
It's just an unfortunate thing. The man's
And for people that
impact.
don't know, Scott had a great mind for the business. If you listen to some of his interviews, when he's clear headed, he was a genius as far as it comes to his mind for wrestling.
No, 100%. I mean, people wanted to pick his brain. He had knowledge. I mean, a lot of knowledge that he gained throughout his own experiences and working with some of the greats as well.
Mhm.
Um, he definitely had his issues, but he also impacted a lot of people both in and outside of the ring.
Yes.
The stories are never ending, like, all the anecdotes about how he helped different guys out, how he, kept guys relevant, what he would do for other talent to ensure that they had the best opportunities as well, right? So I mean, he was always thinking about the business. He was always looking to make the business better. And the more I think about it, the whole WCW thing that they did and whatnot was to make the business better.
Yeah, and they did.
Yeah,
They got the boys got paid more. They made it cool,
yeah,
edgy. They brought more realism to it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Calling yourself Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. They weren't using the name Diesel and Razor Ramon anymore. They were letting you into their world a little bit. They pulled the curtain back with that curtain call, and the rest is history.
No, 100%, man. You know what? We can't say enough. Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything you want to add to this before
Do
we
you
move
think
on?
Outsiders is a top 10, top 15 tag team of all time
I would give them the top 10 for sure.
for
It's a
impact
very
alone?
well, Impact alone, they would be top three. But in
We got
terms
to touch
of,
on how cool it was when Scott Hall was sitting in the crowd at WCW there.
yeah, no, I mean, just
That's
him
cool.
coming through the crowd and, the just a simple line, you all know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here.
Hmm.
You know,
Wearing that
um,
wearing that jean jacket vest with no,
yeah,
the chest.
yeah, no, he was
What a guy.
basically it started everything, man. That was it. That was it, man.
Yeah, that was great.
So
Before we wrap this podcast up, I got something for you. I
yeah,
got Chance's top five. I want to hear your top five Scott Hall moments.
top five Scott Hall moments. Well, I guess number one would have to be for me when I saw the first vignette of Razor Ramon. Um, you could tell they used the formula or again because he used the same kind of stuff for Cardito when he came out, when he spit that apple in the face of that guy. Just the ordering of the food at the restaurant when the guy came and gave him the bill. Those vignettes were so awesome for me. Just being a kid and whatnot, just the introduction to Razor Ramon.
Yeah,
Incidentally, most of those were filmed in Connecticut, not in Miami, as they were supposed to look like.
could
So
never
it's kind
tell.
of
I
no,
didn't know
you
that until you
never
told me
know.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, top five modes, again, it just kind of comes down to just mannerisms for me, really. Outside of the WrestleMania 10 ladder match per se, and the work that he did with the 1 2 3 kid when he, was transitioning from heel to face, those were kind of cool moments for me as well. But just his the little things that he did will be my top five.
Yeah.
Another top five moment like that would be when Scott Hall would be giving the gold to the attendant outside the ring before the start of the match. Anything happens to the gold, something's going to happen to you. Just those little things, the toothpick at the camera, the little smirk. Um,
That little
one,
little razor shuffle dance he would do, when he came in the ring there.
yeah, just
That's
the,
for it. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Match wise, obviously WrestleMania 10, that ladder match, just just really good. I mean, if you think about where the ladder matches evolved, if you watch that match and see what's happening with the ladders now, you think, okay, that's okay. But I mean, for the time, it was probably the best thing that ever happened. Just an
Mhm.
amazing match, just phenomenal. No one really knew what to expect. I mean, even though the ladder match has been around for a while before that, um, you
They
know,
put it on the map though. They made it.
yeah, that day they put it on the map. So I don't know if that really gives you a top five or anything, Chance,
Uh,
but I mean, it's kind of where my mind is with it. You're right. I mean, there's not many matches per se that kind
what
of
about his
stand
match
out.
with Bret Hart? I think it was Royal Rumble '93. That was a pretty solid match.
No, no, that was a solid match. I remember he wore his red trunks that night too, with the little razors on it. It was a solid match, and Brett
Mhm.
and him worked really, really well together, and nothing but good things to say about that match. I think both guys just really worked well, and it just showed how well Razor could work with a technician as well. So it was a really good showing for him. A great match actually overall.
Yeah,
But again, it doesn't stand out. You know what I mean? It's he was just so strong in
that's the
so
thing.
many
His
in
character
all
just
the other facets. His character alone, he didn't I don't think he would even had to have wrestled
yeah.
to be over.
No. There's one match that I remember when I was a kid. It was Ramon and Flair versus Perfect and Savage. It was maybe not the greatest match, but such cool characters and some of my all time favorites in there. I remember that. I think that was his Survivor Series or something,
Yeah,
'92.
it's just when he kind of came into the scene, sort of a deal, right? He had just
Yeah,
kind of emerged at couple of his matches on Superstars, but this was kind of building up the storyline there, and he did. Yeah, that was a pretty cool match as well. Um, but no, for sure, man. What can you say? The guy, the
one of the best.
guys, the guys left a legacy. I'm really happy that he is in the Hall of Fame, not once but
Two times.
twice,
Yeah,
2 times. Once as Razor Ramon and once as Scott Hall, a part of the NWO. So I'm glad he got in. I really am. It just kind of makes sad to see a guy like Vader get in this year postpartum. It kind of sucks. I wish, these guys can get in when they're still able to kind of
while they're alive.
cherish it and really be able to speak on it. So, you know, um, but that's for another show.
Yeah.
Um, so guys, listen, before we end here, I would love to touch on some things that are happening here locally. So
Yes.
Can-Am Wrestling, they're running a few shows. Here's their schedule of upcoming shows that are coming up. So you got them coming to the Airdrie Town and Country Center March 17th. They'll be at the Strathmore Civic Center March 18th. The Calgary Back Alley Nightclub, the Can-Am Arena, March 23rd. And I always mess up the name, so people of this town, I apologize. Okotoks Foothills Centennial Center, March 24th. Did I butcher that?
I don't know, man. I've never heard of that
All right.
city.
So people from the foothills, I apologize if I butchered your name. Please correct me. Medicine Hat Cypress Center, March 25th to close out the month, so I think. They've had some great matches here in the last little while. If you're in
Yes.
any of those towns, please go check out our friends at Can-Am Wrestling. It's a really cool product. Samp&Chance, we're just waiting for the snow to melt on the highways so we can make our way out there this summer and
We'll be there
catch
this
a
summer.
couple shows, definitely. But what we can do for the time being, and you will find us there this weekend, is at the All Star Wrestling Show, which is going to be this Saturday, March 19th, at the Maritime Labor Center in Vancouver. Tickets are $20 for the front row, 15 for general admittance. And the highlight of this card will be the tournament for the vacant Trans Canada Championship. Um,
What a great bang for your buck, eh? To bring the kids, $15 for general admission. You bring your kids. It's family friendly entertainment.
no,
I mean, you can't go wrong
100%.
there. If you're in Vancouver, show up.
Yeah, no, we took your young lad last time flying reins,
Mm,
and this time we're gonna bring my daughter out too. You know, she's really
cool.
excited. She's asking me about this every day. Dad, when is this happening? When are we gonna go watch this? She can't wait. She can't wait to meet Mr. Beefy Goodness himself. Actually, he'll be there that night. The Joe Thunder from Jolunder is gonna be there. Just to name a couple of the guys that are going to be out there that night.
Azim the Dream.
Azim the Dream will probably be out there. So you know what, I apologize if I missed any of the talents' names. We'll make sure to mention everyone that's there and whatnot. But yeah, man, if you're there, if you're in the area, please come out. We'll be there. So we'd love to see you guys. Just support the local product, I always say, and that's what we're going to be doing. And yeah, man,
It's
that's it.
great family entertainment, good wrestling. It's family friendly. Bring your kids, enjoy the show, and you're gonna have a hell of a
Yeah.
good time.
Starts at a decent time, it ends at a decent time. So, the kids have fun. And based on the way I saw Flying Reigns acting, it was amazing. I think I enjoyed watching him just as much as I enjoyed watching the action in the ring that night. It just added a little bit more spice and a little bit more fun to the night. So I
Hmm.
hope I hope my little Miss enjoys herself, and we'll be sure to fill you guys in. So that's it for us. If you guys haven't already, you can follow us on Facebook at Samp&Chance Pod. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Same thing, Samp_Chance for both Instagram and Twitter. You can catch our show on YouTube and on Apple and Spotify. So please, please, please download us, like us, please leave a review, please leave comments. We want to start seeing some comments. I would really love to hear some feedback. Hate us, love us. You know what? Give us something. We want to be better. So we know people are listening. Thank you so much for all of that. But we want to be better. We want to do better. We want to create better things for you guys. We have some amazing things coming in the near future here for all you fans as well. So keep supporting and let us create great things for you guys. On that note, once again, thank you very much to the beautiful people of the world. Thank you for letting us into your years. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight from Bobby Sampson and my man, Chance Michaels.
And in the words of the great ACDC, for those who download the podcast, we salute you.
Absolutely. And on this night of reflection, everyone, please be safe. Have a very safe St. Patrick's Day. If you're gonna drink, make sure you have a ride home. Don't do anything silly. We've already lost too many good people this year. We don't want to lose any more. Be safe and be humble.
Rest
Have a
in
great
peace,
night,
Scott Hall.
everybody. Rest in peace. Good night.